Hi, Rick Lupert here. Of course, you probably know that because you had to see a notification that said Rick Lupert live. So it's definitely me. I'm excited about Facebook Live. I'm going to be reading some poems from one of my new books today. In particular, Facebook Live to me is exciting because when you get those notifications that that people are live, it says so-and-so is live, which I find very comforting because no one can be sure, and considering the alternative, I find it good news when I find that someone is alive, especially when I haven't been in touch with them for a while. So thank you Facebook for continually reminding me that certain people are live. Yes, and that is the other thing I wanted to mention, because usually when these broadcasts end, thank you for pointing this out, Daniel, it'll say so-and-so was live. And I find those notifications kind of alarming, actually. So I don't know. I think they should work on it. So I've got, I kind of felt like I should prove somehow that this is live, because what with CGI and everything, it just, there's no necessarily proof that this is actually happening. So it occurred to me that what people usually do is they hold up a newspaper with today's date on it. So I don't actually have a newspaper, but I found a piece of paper with today's date on it, and I thought I would hold that up, and there you go. So here we go. I forgot. I don't know why Facebook does this. This is actually the reverse me. So you'd think with today's technology they wouldn't have to reverse the video. So let me just try this. See? This proves that I'm live right now. All right, so I've got 3 brand new books out on Rothko Press, a Hollywood-based press. Thank you so much, Rothko Press, for believing in me and my books and for agreeing to the ridiculous idea that people should ever put out 3 books at once. And I'm going to be doing a series of these Facebook Live event readings for these books. The first book that came out was, actually they all came out at the same time, so to say the first book is kind of misleading. Throughout this Facebook Live event, I will be lying to you like that, so be prepared. I guess the first book, by the nature that it was documenting the first trip that these 3 different travel poetry books are documenting, are poetilating on, is called Professor Clown on Parade. Now, again, I realize it's backwards because of the unfortunate technology, but just imagine that you're in the upside down. This book, Professor Clown on Parade, look how thick that is. That is like, ooh, boy, that's a substantial book. Yes, Andrew, the upside down, only the backwards. They're related, they're cousins. When they're not on TV, they get together at barbecues and just talk about it. So anyway, this book, Professor Clown on Parade, does that help? No. It's all poetry I wrote in the summer of 2014 on a trip that my wife and I took to, where do we go? It's what the book is about. Oh, it's on the cover too. We went to Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, and Hartford, Connecticut. In the middle of there, we went to Waterbury, Connecticut, which is where the Ben & Jerry factories is, and that was pretty much reason enough to go to the northeast of the United States of America. So I'm going to read some poems from it for you. This first poem is called Here's the Problem. No, Andrew, I'm not pregnant. A third of the way to the airport, I realize I left my wedding ring at home. as long as it's not a statement, Addie says. At breakfast in Terminal 3, my coffee mug comes with lipstick from its previous user. Addie tells me about how they never clean glasses properly in hotel rooms. She doesn't want to go into detail before our food comes, but the image is there. The waitress tells us they've run out of egg whites. I wonder how that's possible if they still have eggs. Have they lost the technology which allows them to be separated? That is a question which only assholes would ask, and it is too early in this trip to take that path, so I keep it to myself. Assholes, I think, and already this book is unsuitable for children. It is so presumptuous to assume I'm writing a book. I'm going to have to earn my wedding ring back. It begins by not putting my lips on someone else's lipstick. The coffee is okay. The kitchen has figured out how to provide egg whites. My naked finger. I've got 12 nights to make this right. It's poem number 1 from this new book, and I did, it all worked out, you can see. But all right, this next poem, a lot of these, half of these books are written on the way to the places. So this poem is called Bon Voyage. They tell us our plane is continuing on to Paris after it drops us off in Philadelphia. At least they think they'll be dropping us off in Philadelphia. Now that we know this plane is going to Paris, all bets are off. Thank you for that vote of confidence, Daniel. I don't remember me being this funny either. It's all a lie. I'm actually not this funny. So there you go. We always start these summer vacation trips at a city somewhere on the East Coast where someone in our family is nice enough to hold on to our son Jude for a while we leave and go on vacation without him. So in this particular trip, we started in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and which is where Addie's parents live, and they sure love hanging out with Jude, and we sure love having a week and a half without him. So this was written there. This is called New Potato. In Allentown, Pennsylvania, my father-in-law walks in from the backyard, a stack of fountain pens in his hand, asks my mother-in-law, "Do you have an old potato you're not using?" She tells him she only has new potatoes. He asks if he can have just part of one, and she explains essentially it's all or nothing when it comes to potatoes. He wants to use the potato to clean his fountain pens. She gives a new potato to the cause. It's okay. Getting more potatoes is not really an issue. All right. So we left Allentown, Pennsylvania, and drove up to Burlington, Vermont. And I would like to read one poem that we wrote on the road to Burlington, Vermont, about a 9-hour drive or so. This is called, I'd like to call this one The Perfect Storm, but that phrase is used twice in the poem, so it's probably not a good idea. Music from the film The Perfect Storm comes on the radio just as we pass New York's The Storm King Arts Center. Meanwhile, we notice the previous driver of this rental car left a stick of men's deodorant in the glove compartment. This is the perfect storm indeed. All right, well that pretty much encapsulates the 9-hour drive between Allentown, Pennsylvania and Burlington, Vermont. Yes, that is a true story. There was a stick of deodorant. That's two products which finally together. Deodorant in the glove compartment of the car. And every time that we've rented a car since then, pretty much the litmus test of the experience has been whether or not there's been deodorant in the glove compartment. That's the only time that it's happened, but we still check every time. All right, so A few poems written in Burlington, Vermont. This one is called On the Cheese Trail in Burlington. Oh, the potato. Yes, also a true story. Everything I say is true. Here you go. On the Cheese Trail in Vermont. Our first cheese in Vermont is at the Farmhouse Tap and Grill. We wait 100 years to be seated, but all signs point to this being a good idea. The walls are comfortable. My head sinks in when I press against them. I want these walls at home. They also have a beer garden. I want Vermont beer seeds to take home. Maybe grow a bush. I could breed it with a cow and have all the cheese I ever needed. My short hair is out of control. Soon the cheese will come. I know exactly what to do with it. That's a good idea, Elijah. Peppermint pubes. And now the word pubes is forever in this video. Thanks. Thanks. Ruined. All ruined. Moving on. I'm moving on. Breakfast at the Lang House. We stayed at this really sweet bed and breakfast called the Lang House. This is called Breakfast at the Lang House. 1. At breakfast, I put one of the napkin rings. This is the kind of place that has napkin rings on my ring finger, just in case the server of the other patrons sees the regular ring on Addie's finger and assumes scandal. 2. The couple next to us discuss the drama of their lives. They know a lot of liars. I want them to go on, but a small dog has run into the breakfast room. They say his name is Willie, but our server is new, so she can't confirm. I ask if I can order a cat for tonight. She's not sure the dogs will allow it. I'll talk to them, I tell her. Anyway, the people who know the liars, they have left the building. The dog, their plan, all along. A couple more poems from Burlington, and then we're going to a whole other city. This is kind of like traveling, isn't it? This is called Lupert Love Can Be Confusing. We walk out of the Lang House bed and breakfast on the way to dinner, and Addie says, "It's gorgeous outside." "You're gorgeous outside," I tell her. Her eyebrow wiggling tells me she's not sure if she should roll her eyes or bat her eyelashes. And finally, from Burlington, Vermont, this poem is called Haiku. Of all the swings on the Burlington boardwalk, we get the squeaky one. All right, so we left Burlington, Vermont, and we were heading to spend a few days in Portland, Maine. And but on the way to Portland, Maine from Burlington, Vermont, there's an awesome town called Waterbury, Vermont. And Waterbury, basically the reason why Waterbury exists is because the Ben & Jerry's factory is there, along with the Cabot Cheese Factory. There's an apple cider mill and the Green Mountain Coffee Welcome Center. So you could pretty much spend all day eating really awesome things for free in Waterbury, Vermont. And this one poem I'm going to read from that city is about arriving at the Ben & Jerry's factory. This is called We Arrive at the New Holy Land. We follow the Winooski River to Waterbury, Vermont, home to everything Vermont has to eat, but most importantly, Ben & Jerry's. Everything here is tie-dyed and covered in cows. Every employee has a smile bigger than Vermont. There's magic in the air and a free spin art station. It's like visiting a real-life Willy Wonka factory. Music from the 60s playing in the bathroom. Oozing social responsibility. Mandatory anti-GMO labels on everything. You will make the world a better place by putting this product in your mouth. This is the Woodstock of ice cream. No criers allowed. Not possible here anyway. These are the colors of happiness. These are the cows of your delight. Grab a pint and a spoon. This is happening. The cowbell rings. We're going in. And we did go in. And I got to tell you, the Ben & Jerry's factory, not a place you ever want to leave. But we did leave. And we drove on to Portland, Maine, which is, I guess, the biggest city in Maine, which is saying quite a lot, I'm sure. And yes, rip the rainforest crunch, Michelle. In fact, if you ever, one of the cool things they have at the, if you'll indulge me in my tangent from Portland, Maine, one of the cool things they have at the Ben & Jerry's factory is the ice cream graveyard. So you finish touring the factory or go before if you want. It's really up to you. And they have this little graveyard there with tombstones that one for all of the flavors that they no longer make. So that's kind of cool. If you'd like to pay your respects to the Rainforest Crunch, Michelle, you should really get off to Burlington, Vermont. All right, so where was I? I was in Portland, Maine, and which is the largest city in Portland, a really sweet coastal town that has lots of things to see. It's where the poet Longfellow lived for a while, and an amazing food town as well. And they had this observatory on the edge of town, which was not a lighthouse, but a signal tower, where you would head up to the top of the tower. Well, actually, that's what you do now, but a guy used to basically be up there, and they would hold up flags, these signal flags, that the ships where the people in the people in the tower would see the ships coming in, and they'd hold up these flags that the people in the port would then see, and then the people in the port would know, such and such a ship is coming in, and they would get ready to do whatever they needed to do to prepare for that ship coming in. And I don't know what that is exactly, but anyway, it was a thing to go up, and we like going up things. So this is called At the Portland Observatory. I can't tell you how afraid I was going to accidentally throw my phone off the Portland Observatory. Stacy, our tour guide, who is a man, had only one request. Once we got to the top, that we do not die. His voice was like Garrison Keillor's, and I am the first person to tell him that. I may just throw my phone off to ease the tension. Not my whole body, though. The views would go away, and so would I. All right, so that's the poem At the Portland Observatory. This next poem is called The Tap Water in Vermont and Maine is Highly Drinkable. Unlike in Los Angeles, where it is not, and you can't drink it anyway because we're running out of it. That's that entire poem. One more poem from Portland, Maine, and then we'll head to the final destination on this trip, Hartford, Connecticut. Hi, Lizzie Weiss. Thanks for popping in. And congratulations on being a cantor now. Or being ordained. I mean, being installed as a cantor. I guess you were a cantor before you were installed. But now they believe it, and it's official. So one of the cool things they have in Portland, Maine is donuts, like gourmet artisan donuts. And this is a short poem I wrote called At Holy Donuts on Exchange Street. How do you not go to a place called Holy Donuts? 1. They serve the #1 donut in Maine. It has bacon in it, so it won't be the #1 donut in our mouths. 2. The Holy Donut Man says there are no wrong choices. We choose the sea salt crunch. It was not the wrong choice. Seagulls outside sing as we eat it. 3. I buy a bottle of water from the donut man who tells me You've got to hydrate your hustle. That's exactly what I plan on doing, I tell him. All right, well, those are a few little pieces from Portland, Maine. We finished the trip by heading off to Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford, Connecticut is a place that basically no one believed that we were vacationing there. It's a place that's known for having lots of insurance companies. And I'm not sure the people of Hartford realize how cool their town is. But every time we told someone there, oh, your vacation, well, that's what this poem is about. This is called Vacation in Hartford. The confused look on anyone's face when we tell them we're vacationing in Hartford. I've never heard of anyone vacationing in Hartford, they all say. You've got one of the oldest museums and the Mark Twain House and a lily pond, I say, defending their own town to them. You're vacationing here? The waitress asks us, and then quickly points out the synagogue across the street, built in 1872. She becomes our tour guide. We almost forget to order food and ask for the check when she tells us it hasn't been a synagogue in 20 years. Dave Matthews is playing somewhere in town. Costume players from the convention litter the streets. We eat dinner across the street from a synagogue built in 1872. It's 2014 and the building is for sale. Call Chozik Realty if you're interested. I've got two more poems for you on this impromptu publication reading for my new book, Professor Clown on Parade. Sorry that it's backwards. We're working on the technology to fix that. This poem is called Everything is Free in Hartford. Free breakfast earns us free parking somehow. A free cocktail is on the way because of missing cheese on the free morning omelet. Free Saturday at the Athenaeum, oldest art museum in the country. We walked right in there, no charge. Free tour at the old State House with free views of a two-headed cow. Free $3 off our pizza at the restaurant for no reason at all. Heading to the free Riverfest with free bands and free fireworks. Did I mention the free cocktail, which is coming later? We're leaving Hartford with our bellies full and more money than we came in with. You on a budget, thinking travel? Let me tell you, Hartford has it. Not looking forward to the real world. The rest outside of this magical bubble of financial liberty. Buying my food, paying to get in places. Hartford, you are the place. I'm going to call my financial institutions and tell them I'm moving on. I'm going to throw my wallet in your river tonight. Watch it sink to the bottom. Not think of it again. Alrighty. That is a poem about how everything was free in Hartford. That's not actually true. We had to pay for a lot of stuff there, but we kept getting free shit, so there's a poem about it. This is the last poem I'm going to read to you today. This is one of the last poems I wrote in the city of Hartford, Connecticut. You connect, I cut. That's how you spell that. And it's called Addie Has a Whole Plan for Breakfast. She's been thinking about it since back in the room when I was still only dreaming of being awake. She's even found a way to compensate for the giant forks. She's giving me the details, but has to pause when she points out the fruit she's assembled from the buffet. All the pretty colors. I love fruit, she says, trying not to cry. Alrighty, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. That is a bunch of poems from my new book, Professor Clown on Parade, out on Rothko Press. It's the first of 3 books that came out last week. I'm going to do another one of these next week at 3:30 p.m. Don't worry if you miss it, because these videos just stay online forever. And there you go. So the one next week on next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. is going to be from my book, Romancing the Blarney Stone, which is all poems that I wrote in Ireland in the summer of 2015. And then 2 weeks after that, on January 5th, I'm going to do another one of these, also a Thursday. I think it's January 5th. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but it's somewhere in January. It's all poems I wrote this past summer in New Orleans, and it's called Donut Famine. Look, it's me on top of my book. Hi. Sorry. Anyway, all these books are available on Amazon.com if you're interested. You know, us poets, like every time we sell a book, we kind of like weep, and it makes us so happy. And, you know, a friend of mine, Matthew Mars, said once that if you ever sell, if you ever make money from poetry, you should immediately go buy food from it. So if I sell one book at any point between now and the rest of my life, you can bet your ass I'm going to buy an omelet for it, from the money. I'm not going to buy an omelet for the book. Maybe not this book. A future book may get an omelet. Anyway, all these books are on Amazon. Thank you for listening to all the poetry. I'm actually having a special. Yay, dancing bird, to celebrate the special. Dancing unused spigot from the bathroom remodel. Sorry. I'm having a special. You can, of course, buy all the books individually if you'd like. Please do. But if you go to my website, and this is the only place you can do this, you can't do this on the anywhere else. You can get Donut Famine and Romancing the Blarney Stone and Professor Clown on Parade and Rick Lupert Live and Dead, my spoken word CD, all for $25 less than it would cost to buy them all separately, and it's free shipping. If you're in the United States. If you're not in the United States, you will not get free shipping. That's all I have to tell you. So thank you all very much for tuning in, for listening to all these poems from the book. If you missed it, if you tuned in late, you can just start the video over. That's the magic of Facebook. I want to once again prove that I'm doing this live by holding up a paper that has today's date on it. And for those of you not in the upside down, thank you all very much. Have a lovely evening. Good night.